Tonight, we open Gypsy Rose file, which is one of the most disturbing crimes in recent years. That it didn't even start with the anger or revenge. It started with a girl in a wheelchair. A girl everyone believed was dying, and her name was Gypsy Rose. For years, people donated money. Charity built her family a house. Strangers saw her as a brave child fighting serious illness. But behind the scenes, and guys, everything happens behind the scenes. Something very dark was happening because the truth was, Gypsy Rose was never actually sick, and the person responsible for the lie, guess, was her own mother. Hey, this was one of the most shocking true crime stories you would ever hear. The story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She was born in 1991 to a woman named Dee Blanchard. From the time Gypsy was very young, her mother told the doctors that her daughter had serious health problems. Why she did that, we're about to find out. She claimed Gypsy had leukemia. Leukemia, cancer of the blood, and muscular dystrophy and epilepsy. According to Dee, Gypsy couldn't walk, she couldn't eat properly, her mental age of a child was much younger than she was, and because of this, Gypsy spent most of her childhood in the wheelchair. The doctors prescribed medication, she went through surgeries, they were feeding tube that was inserted in her so that she could be able to eat, but there was one simple problem. Many of these illnesses that Gypsy Rose's mother claimed she has did not exist. Now, I don't know. Don't ask me what the doctors had prescribed. I don't know. Let's continue. Didi had convinced doctors, charities, and even neighbors that her daughter was extremely sick. And because Gypsy had controlled her entire life, she believed her mother. She believed that she actually has these sicknesses. The pair, which is Gypsy and Didi, move often, especially after the Hurricane Katrina that happened around them. Eventually, a charity called Habitat for Human built them a small pink house in Missouri. Most of the time, they usually go from place to place because they didn't have where to stay. People in the community loved them so much. They saw Didi as a devoted and dedicated mother caring for a very sick child. Gypsy received trips to Disney World. She met celebrities. But inside the house, things were very different. Didi, which is her mother, controlled everything. She shaved Gypsy's hair to make it look like the chemotherapy had caused her hair loss. She told Gypsy she couldn't walk, and even though she physically could walk, she kept her isolated from the outside world. Like Gypsy was not allowed to see anything from the outside world without her mother being present. Gypsy later said she was often treated like a prisoner than a daughter. As Gypsy grew older, she started noticing some things that did not actually make sense. For example, she said she realized that she could walk perfectly fine. I mean, this is a human being you're controlling. She must have sense of her own. She started secretly using the internet online. While she was using the internet one day, she met a man named Nicholas Godajon. They started talking regularly. It started as a simple online conversation and turned to something deeper eventually. Gypsy told Nicholas about her life, about the abuse and control of her mother. She told this man that she felt trapped. She believed there was only one way to escape. Eventually, their conversation became darker. They began discussing something unthinkable. And guess the unthinkable? Murder. In June 2015, Nicholas traveled to Missouri to meet Gypsy in person. That night, while Gypsy waited in the bathroom, covering her ears, Nicholas entered Didi's bedroom and he stabbed her multiple times while she slept. Don't forget, Didi is Gypsy's mom. After the murder, the two fled the house and traveled to Wisconsin. For a few days, no one knew what had happened. Friends became worried when Didi stopped responding to messages. Then something strange appeared on Facebook account shared by Gypsy and her mother. A post that read, "That bitch is dead." Another message followed shortly after, saying that Gypsy had been harmed too. The post terrified everyone who knew them both, and police were called to the house. When officers entered the house, they discovered Didi's body in the bedroom. At first, many feared Gypsy had been kidnapped, or maybe she's dead, or maybe she had been killed. But soon, investigators traced the Facebook post that led directly to Nicholas Godajon's home in Wisconsin. Police arrived, and both Nicholas and Gypsy were found alive. That was when the shocking truth started to come out. Gypsy was not the helpless, dying girl everyone believed. She could walk, she could talk normally, and the illness her mother claimed she had for years were largely fabricated. Investigators learned that Didi had likely suffered from a psychological condition called Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Oh my word. This disorder causes a caregiver to fake or create illnesses in someone they are responsible for, often to gain sympathy, attention, gift, money, and things like that. For years, Didi, which is Gypsy's mom, had built an entire life around the story of her sick daughter, and Gypsy had been forced to live inside that lie. When the case went to court, public opinion became divided. Some people saw Gypsy as a victim who had finally escaped years of abuse. Others believed she had still played a role in planning the murder. In 2016, Gypsy Rose Blanchard pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison. And Nicholas Godejon, her boyfriend, which she met on social media, the man who carried out the killing, received life in prison. But the story did not end there. As more details about Gypsy's childhood came out, many people began to question whether the real crime had started long before that night. Years of manipulation, years of medical abuse, years of living in a lie. Some people believe Gypsy had been a prisoner in her own life and the world had been fooled the entire time. Even today, the case remains one of the most disturbing examples of deception, control, and tragedy in modern true crime. Because what looked like a story about a sick child and a loving mother turned out to be something far darker. Sometimes the most terrifying crimes are not committed by strangers. Sometimes they begin inside the home and the truth stayed hidden for years. What do you think? Do you think Gypsy is right for killing her mother? What do you think about this story? Subscribe if you like stories like this, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.